Premee Mohamed is an Indo-Caribbean scientist and speculative fiction author based in Edmonton, Alberta. She is the author of the Beneath the Rising series, several novellas, and a raft of short fiction. She can be found on Twitter at Premeesaurus and on her website at premeemohamed.com. Take it away.
So much for inviting me. So I'll be reading from my latest book, The Annual Migration of Clouds, which came out in September 2021. And it's the story of kind of a post-apocalyptic climate disaster. And the main character, Reed, who has an unusual disease, I guess we could call it, a hereditary symbiont, and her best friend, Henrik, are in chapter 7 and are going to go down to the river valley and maybe hunt for some rabbits. By the time I meet Henrik over by the drop, I'm tired and cranky from the morning's work and skipping lunch. He doesn't look like he's faring much better. First things first, we must get that out of the way. You look like shit, I tell him. You too. And you need a haircut, that rat's nest. But so I can look like you. You wish, he says loftily, because I have walked into it. You could look like me. Up yours. Up what? I always wonder, he says. I mean, yours could be anything. I don't know. It's just such a mom thing to say, so it must be something really terrible. The stairs down to the valley gleam in the long afternoon light, soft-edged gold, 2 lanes marked in dark parallel smears, going up, going down. Every couple of years they have to be replumbed, leveled, and shored up, for the ground underneath them has been eaten away far below their original footings. But here it's either climb the stairs or take a rope down, and we've both been rope burned enough. We hang onto the railings and descend slowly, putting both feet on each step like toddlers, ignoring the magpies that flutter down to laugh at us. Very funny. Magpies always seem to want to know what you're doing, and once they know what they want to supervise, go away, I tell them. You're terrible spies. Don't talk to them, you'll only encourage them. Where did you read that? Some old lady told me. I don't just read, you know. We wind between stumps and saplings, step through dogwood, rose, handsy willow, batting away the light branches, dried out and stiff from the long winter. Sap has not risen yet, and the few inches of remaining soil are still frozen above the bedrock. Strong, sweet musk of last fall's leaves, exposed by the melting snow and forming slick rugs under our careful feet. A smell of childhood, running wild in the dust and the smoke, sliding on these leaves in the understory. Patches of snow remain in the shade, dirty brown and gray, but the droplets that melt from the icy trees are impossibly clear, sparkling and catching the sun and flying into our upturned faces like rain. What did you bring? I ask. Sling, spear, you? I found a couple of arrows, but they're all shit. From 2 summers ago, remember when McKinnon had that workshop thing and we all made like 100 of them? I glance at the bow on his back, white PVC like mine, smudged with grimy fingerprints. The string doesn't look too good, but I guess if his arrows are shit too, it won't matter. Mostly, I think we came to get our legs back under us, like going back to sea. It's funny, he begins, because like back then, they didn't even eat rabbit. You never see it in the cookbooks. Yeah, and if you wanted one, you could just shoot it with a gun. Back then, and their guns. We don't even know what we mean exactly when we say back then, or back then, capitalized, like Anno Domini. What time period, years? Yash and Malia's long ago girlhood, before CAD, before the ultrastorms, the big one, and then the next big one, and then the next, and the next, and the next. Often, but not always, roaring into the river valley like a giant, stubbing his toe and collapsing into impotent rage and debris on our side. They didn't cause the end of everything, we figured. Everything was ending anyway. But neither is it very clear what did cause the rift between back then and now. So much burned and blew away, leaving no trace, like a carcass that didn't fossilize. As we mine out the landfills, at least they left us a lot of plastic to reuse. That was thoughtful. And burrow into basements and archives, seeking the books that our ancestors did not burn to survive the winters. You feel it sometimes? Rage filling you like an updraft of hot air from a fire, lifting you from the shoulders or blowing through you like a tornado. Rage that we missed it all, and rage at those who got to have it in the specific way that took it from us. And we don't even know what it is, only that we want to get back to it, and we never will because they made that impossible. What has been broken in a way that can no longer be fixed. Reading about it all in novels, smartphones, internet, satellites, the ISS, movies, cruises, road trips, texting, trains, flying in planes over countries with the cloud shadows moving dark and wet over the land like ink, but also all the things they wrote in there that they did not mean to write about because they were too normal, letting us look at them from the corner of their eyes. Restaurants, rice, dumpsters, condoms, ozons, irrigation, pensions, bananas. I think, my Christ, imagine a world where you could fear flying. Henrik feels it too. The rage, I mean, the upward pull of it, when you know there's no starting over. When you know that everything we needed to start over was thrown away or burnt up decades before we were born. We can't have any of that. Alia told me, they said to us, we'll keep the lights on as long as we can. And they did. You could flip a switch and at least there was light. We could not run our stoves or our fridges, but light, always light. Then brownouts, then blackouts. The panels broke and no one could fix them. No more diesel for generators and no more coming. Click, 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 her long, beautiful willow gold hand gesturing at the dead switch on the wall. Till finally we all had to admit nothing was coming back on. It was dark always. Now babies crawl around without fear and put their tongues into the sockets like there was milk inside.
Oh boy.